Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Art is Alive interview. Today, I have a very special guest. He is all the way from, you guessed it, the University of Central Florida. He is a veteran in the field of production with over 25 years of experience. His works include the Emmy Award winning series Northern Exposure, The X Files, and numerous other television programs. I'd like to welcome Phil Peters. Phil, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Chris. It's good to have you here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, being in the industry for about 25 years,
Yes.
could you take us back to the beginning, how you all got started with production?
Well, my background, I was trained as a theater set and costume designer. And then I graduated with my MFA, Master of Fine Arts, and I immigrated to Australia. At that time, the Australian film industry was booming. This is when people like Mel Gibson, Nicole Kidman, they were all young. And so I was young as well. I immigrated to Australia and we made films. So that was my film school, actually, was making films in Australia for about 10 years.
Wow. And with your creative process, how has that changed over time?
Well, a lot of it was I had come from theater and I had never made a film before. I had not worked, I had made one film in grad school. And so I had to learn the special techniques of film, mostly that in theater, the viewpoint of the audience is fixed. You know, you come in, you take your seat, you have that, and you have, okay, that is your lens, that seat. Well, in film, the camera is moving, your point of view is moving constantly. And so I had to get used to that if you think of the shot from a seat, is like a medium long shot, you know, from the audience. Well, now they can come in close or pull way back and move around. So the type of sets that I would design or costumes I would design had to be somewhat more detailed because of the possibility of close-ups.
Yeah, just seeing the comparison between the world of theater versus film is night and day.
So many of the techniques, yes. For instance, backdrop painting. You know, in the theater, when you paint a backdrop, it's a lot more loose than in film, because in film the camera could be very, very close on that and tell that, oh, that's a painted backdrop. Yeah. So you just have to. Then those are things you learn by working with the director. You'll say, what kind of shots you're going to use here? Are they close? Are they far away? Or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So being dropped in the world of film, and you said you never made a film prior to this. What's some advice you wish someone gave you when you first started that journey?
Well, when I went to school, there were no schools yet that taught production design. Production designers came out of theater, like I did, or architecture primarily, and you just learned on the job. Now there are schools. There's about 3 schools that teach production design: AFI, the American Film Institute in Los Angeles, the UCLA in Los Angeles, USC in Los Angeles, and NYU in New York. They actually have degrees in production design now. So I had to kind of learn on my own. And if I was to tell someone now, I do get students that want to do production design as a track. I tell them, you need to go back to the basics, and that would be go back to the mother of film, that is theater and then photography.
Yes.
Theater and photography had a baby, it's called movies, film.
The whole trinity.
Yeah. And so those two things together, I would tell a student, go take a photography class to learn about lenses, depth of field, all of the lighting. Even though you're not going to be filming, you're not the cinematographer, but you need to know the tools of their trade.
It's like be a jack of all trades versus a master of one.
Well, you need to know to be able to speak with that person.
Yes.
Like, oh, what kind of filters are you going to use on this? What kind of lighting are you going to use? And that has an impact on the production designer. Then to take theater classes, because set construction, all of that kind of thing are done in theater classes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just basically described, personally speaking, my path to entering the world of production, because I started off as I was acting in theater, and then I jumped into the world of cameras and photography, which I'm currently still in. And now I'm in film and production, so it just goes so naturally.
Yeah, those two come together to make film.
I mean, you worded it perfectly. So, with the creative arts, how do you feel about the state of the arts today?
Well, it's funny you say that using the word state. We do live in Florida, and right now, Florida is going through a lot of changes as far as how the arts are looked at. And most people believe that arts are part of a well-rounded education. Well, there are a lot of people that don't believe that they are and that they should be funded. And I believe that the arts today are need to be more funded. I travel a lot for my job and for my pleasure, and I go to other countries and I see how well the arts are funded. For instance, most towns the size of Orlando would have 2 to 3 times. They would definitely have a large permanent theater company. They would have a large permanent opera company, a large permanent orchestra. Well, we have those here in Orlando. They're all volunteers. They're not professional. They're volunteers.
Right.
And those are all through the state. Like you go to Germany, every town the size of Sanford would have an opera house, would have a theater company, would have, it's just part of the culture. And we kind of ignore that part of for instance, when I went to high school, I went to a very a public school in Phoenix, Arizona. We had a theater department, did a lot of plays. We had dance departments, we had photography departments. All that I think has been stripped away. So
Yeah.
we need to bring all of that back to give students a wide variety opportunity, which includes all the arts and all the athletics and all the music side, to give those students a wide variety of ideas.
Yeah, I totally agree with
Yeah.
you. That it's a shame that there isn't more of a push for the arts.
Yeah.
More so, the hustle mentality, the grind, the rat
Yeah.
race. So I want to circle back a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
You were during your time. It was like the time of Mel Gibson.
Uh-huh.
And correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned in class that you went to school with J.K. Simmons.
Yes, yeah. We were grad students together. Yeah.
Okay. Were you ever like in contact with him? Were you friends with
I
him?
haven't talked to him since graduate school. I knew his parents. It's funny. Both his parents are music teachers, and
That's Whiplash.
yeah, exactly. And we were in graduate school together at the University of Montana. Is where I went to graduate school in Missoula, Montana, and his parents taught at the University of Montana in the music department. In fact, maybe he was the chairman of the department, his father. And he was an actor and I was a set designer. So that's the connection. I mean, I knew him. I didn't act with him. I wasn't an actor.
So that was like you were dropping a bomb in class and everyone just went, whoa.
Yeah, well, he is the only person I know who has, from my school days, that is famous, quote unquote.
Okay.
I know a lot of working actors. I'll see them. It's a hard life. Being an actor. Any aspect of film or theater is hard. I don't care cinematography or set construction or set design or acting or producing. It's not. It's a calling. It's a path. You have to. You have to do it. And if you do it because of money, well, it's easier to become a lawyer or something. So yeah, J. I want to call him JJ, but it's JK. Yeah. So yeah, he was. I wouldn't call him a good friend by any means. We were just classmates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still, it's very interesting piece of trivia.
Yeah.
So I want you to speak a little bit more personally. What is your mission as an artist, as you're, seasoned and you're teaching all these students?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, Chris, in that I came to teaching late in life. I came here when I was 49 or 50 to UCF. I was based in Seattle. After I was in Australia for a number of years and learned the film business, I had to be a film designer. That the industry started slowing down in Australia. And if you notice, that's when Mel Gibson moved back to the States. He's American.
Mm-hmm.
He moved back to the States. He went there as a child with his parents, and he moved back from Australia to the States.
Right.
And all of those that could, the industry in Australia started dying. So they came to this country. And I realized that my contribution when I got to about the age of 49 or 50 was to pass the torch to teach. And that was more important to me at that point. So for the last 20, and I still remember this, when I left Seattle, I knew that my career was not as important as helping students have their career. And you're not ready to teach. I tell this to people all the time who want to teach. They'll say, Phil, I'm ready I say, are you ready to teach? Are you ready to say, oh, I'm going to take a back seat and push my students
Yeah.
forward? Because if it's all about me, I wouldn't be here. I'd be out making a film. And it's impossible to make a film and teach. You're going to do both poorly, because film is like a crying baby. It wants your attention all the time, wants your
Yes.
attention all the time.
Ugh.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it wants you. Phil, where are you? Why aren't you here? We need you 24/7, and then I have the university saying the same thing. Why aren't you doing class? And so I'm doing both badly. And so when I came here, I decided that my job was to assist students to make their films, not me forward my career. Now I still make films, but I make them in the summertime. I'm more of a producer now because I don't have enough money to be a production designer. Production design requires that you have budgets for sets and you have budgets for costumes.
Right.
Well, the films I produce, we don't have budgets for any of that. We use existing locations, existing costumes. And so my job now my legacy won't be because I did a lot of B movies, basically. It'll be that I helped foster a new generation of filmmakers.
That's awesome.
Well, it gives me a lot more enjoyment than filmmaking is very, as you know, Chris, it's grueling. It's long hours. Production designers are there from super early in the morning.
Yeah, and if you don't love it, then
Yeah.
you will be crushed under the weight of the responsibilities and the time constraints.
And so I decided now's the time to pass the torch to a young generation and teach that generation, and then let them make their films. And at some point, they'll step aside and let the next generation. So that's how it works.
And keep art alive.
Yeah.
Phil, thank you so much for your time.
Anytime.
I appreciate it. What projects can we look out for?
Well, I'm working on one. I just did one 2 years ago called Goodbye White Guy. The poster's over there. And then I just have one. We're tentatively calling it the Oklahoma Project, but it's actually I think it's going to be called The Long Road Home. And we shot it in Oklahoma this past summer, and I'm in the middle of editing it now. And hopefully in a year, it'll be on the festival circuit.
Love to see it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, be on the lookout for Phil's new films coming out. This has been another episode of Art is Alive. Thank you so much.